Welcome to the Mr. Bill podcast. I'm not Mr. Bill. This is Anand Harsh, his manager and editor-in-chief over at theunz.com, filling in for Bill, who is out on assignment. His guest today is Wyatt Christensen with DAW Nation, which produces a popular YouTube series in the DAW, as well as the podcast Behind the DAW, in addition to creating courses to help people get better at making music, just like Bill. Before we get to the interview, I want to remind everyone that the Mr. Bill Patreon has finally launched. These podcasts take a lot of time to produce. Bill gets to just sit in his studio and chat with his friends in the industry for an hour. But then his producer, Robert, has to painstakingly edit out all the ambient hums and buzzes from everyone's gear and take out all the parts where Bill and his guests accidentally reveal their deepest, darkest secrets, or at least the ones that will get us all sued. So each hour of the podcast you enjoy actually takes a number of hours to create, and we're putting out 2 episodes a week now. Regardless of the level that you subscribe at, you'll be getting all those episodes earlier than the general public, so there's a lot to gloat about. Head over to patreon.com/MrBillsTunes to see how reasonably priced all the levels are. Become a subscriber, hold that moral superiority in your heart like a burning ember that fuels your daily life, and help support the team that puts these out twice a week. I'll discuss more of the perks on next week's episode. And one final thing, go to MrBillsTunes.com to sign up as a hardcore Ableton so you can become better at producing. Okay, now I'm ready to turn it back over to Bill for the interview, which is really, really good. Enjoy this one.
Hey, you're listening to the Mr. Bill podcast.
Hey, you're listening to the Mr. Bill podcast.
Hey, you are listening to the Mr. Bill podcast.
Hey, you're 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 listening to the Mr. Bill podcast. Hey, you're listening to the Mr. Bill podcast.
Hey, you're listening to the Mr. Bill podcast.
Hey, you're listening to the Mr. Bill podcast.
Hey, you're listening to the Mr. Bill podcast.
Cool, man. Well, fuck yeah. Thanks for being on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thank you for having me. This is such an honor.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know you've asked me to do yours before, and we talked about doing it, and I apologize that never happened yet, but I'm still down to do it.
Of course, man.
Yeah, I think before all this quarantine stuff started happening, I just had so much fucking shit to do all the time in the way of like shows. So basically, like the schedule was just like all week I'd just be sort of cranking out tunes and trying to build a set for the weekend, and then all weekend I'd just travel and play shows, and then I'd come back and be super tired on Monday and Tuesday, and then the same routine would just occur week after week. So it was really tough and not that conducive to doing much else.
Dude, your massive success that you have is the best apology I've ever heard, so I really appreciate that.
Nice. Yeah, what have you been up to, man?
Oh, dude, so much, man. So we have been relentlessly working so hard. A lot of people have been extremely negatively affected by COVID. We have been extremely blessed by COVID. We're one of the very few companies, businesses, brands, whatever you want to say, that have been massively blessed by it. We've been able to, for 2 months straight, double our sales consistently. And it's just been insane, dude.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because it's like so many people have time right now to finally delve into all the shit that they probably always wanted to, and now they're not like hindered by work obligations and stuff like that to do so, and therefore, yeah, a company like your own where you're selling sample packs, I suppose, and like tutorial stuff and like racks and shit like that is probably going to do better than normal.
Exactly. It also came at a time when we were trying new tactics, and the tactics worked as well. So the combination of trying new tactics plus everyone being home on their phone, seeing our ads, it just, oh man, it's kind of provided an atmosphere of survivor's remorse, which kind of sucks, but there's been a lot of beautiful things that have been happening. So we've been moving at a ridiculously fast rate, trying to keep up with everything. So yeah.
Crazy. And when you say we, how many people are in so the company is in the DAW, right? Is that the company?
So the company itself is called DAW Nation, and then in the DAW is the podcast, or one of the podcasts, one of the series that we have. But the company is, so I'm the founder, I'm the one who initially started it, And then I have 5 employees, and then we have about 9 different partners, people that we're creating things with. So like courses or sample packs or things of that nature. So yeah.
Like AU5 would be one of those partners.
AU5 is the biggest partner by far. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Yep.
Cool, man. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm glad you're successful with that.
Yeah.
What is the deal within the DAW? Because from my perspective, it used to be something that was like multiplier related, and I never wanted to do it because there was like some shit that happened when we did the Collab Alliance where he basically just like I don't know, he didn't take the challenge seriously or whatever, and then a bunch of people were sort of mad about it, and I didn't really like care too much about it, but just the stigma around like all the hate he was getting for that made me like sort of want to just distance.
For sure.
Yeah, not that I have a problem with him at all. I think his tutorials are pretty funny and stuff like that, but yeah, like so didn't it start as something related to him, and then it seemed like you distance as well, or like I don't know what's the deal.
It's a really good question. I've actually never publicly revealed what actually happened, so there's going to be some people that are really happy to finally see what happened behind the scenes. So basically, what happened was initially it started as that. After I graduated from Icon Collective, I had this idea. One of my biggest gripes about music production schools, whether it's Icon or DubSpot or PureMind or whatever it is, right, is that the vast majority of the people that you learn from in there aren't actually doing what you want to do. They're not actually, like touring artists. They're not actually, the producers that are like making a living off music, right? And that was one of my biggest gripes about it. And so coming out of Icon, I was like, all I want to do, the number one thing that I want to do is actually learn from the producers that are actually doing it, right? If I want to become a contractor, I want to go learn from a contractor. If I want to be a doctor, I want to go learn from doctors. If I want to be an astronaut, I want to learn from an astronaut. I want to learn straight from the source. And so I had this idea. Me and Multiplier, I did a few private lessons with him. And in the middle of the night, this came to me, this idea. It's like, well, what if we just did that? What if we had a series where we invited people like you, like AU5, like all the people that we've had on? What if we invite them and just nerd out over a song that they've made? Just break it down. Like, what did you do here? How did you do this? All this kind of stuff, right? Like, what if we had that? And so the reason why I initially went with Multiplier is because he did, like we were friends, and he had, at the time, I think it was like 50,000 followers. So it was a good jumping off point. And I was like, yeah, do you want to do this with me? And he was like, yeah, sure. That sounds like a lot of fun. Let's try it out. And so we did it, and it was a massive hit. Like, everyone loved it for the exact same reason that I said. Like, where else can you go online to consistently learn from new people that are currently crushing it in the industry? Most of the time, it's people trying to recreate sounds or whatever. Like, your channel is one of the most legitimate ones because you're actually doing it. Right, you're actually actually doing it, and so learning from you is a treat. Learning from Virtual Riot is a treat. Learning from AU5 is a treat because you guys are actually doing it. But learning from so and so who's just like, hey, I recreated this sound, or I did this thing, or I heard one time that this big producer did this thing, is one of my biggest gripes. So we started this series called In the DAW. And we invited, again, like these big people that came on. Some of the people that we've had on are people like Kashmir, Modestep, Fox Stevenson, AU5, of course, Quicks, Said the Sky, Delta Heavy. Recently, we've had people like Slippy, Graves, a whole bunch of people. I can't even remember everyone that we've had on. But what happened was around episode 50, we're currently on episode like 80 or so right now, but around episode 50, Multiplier came to me because at the time he was only allowing me to release twice a month. He was only allowing me to upload onto his channel twice a month, right? And the deal was that basically I was like, I will schedule everyone. I'll go and find everyone. I'll do all the video editing. I'll do all the social media. I'll run whatever ads that I need to. I'll do anything. All you have to do is just show up and give me your password so I can upload it onto your channel. That was the deal, right? Right. And so he's allowing me to do this twice a month. But then he came to me and he was like, I want to scale it down to only once a month. And I didn't really understand his reasoning. I was like, dude, like, you're getting a lot of traffic from this stuff. And, a lot of people are finding out about you. But he's just like, no, I want to scale down. It's just not my thing. I want to scale down. I'm like, okay, that's totally fine. I was like, this may be the best time for us to actually create an actual individual platform that no longer lives on your channel, but is over on its own separate channel, and create it over there. Like, are you okay with that? He's like, absolutely. So we we did the split and we moved it over to there. And then it's not that we necessarily fell out of touch. It's more so just like he got busy and I guess, that means that we fell out of touch. Anyways, right. So
I think I can understand why he may have been like that. He may have been feeling like the very constant uploads of the indoor stuff on his channel was looking too much like a hard pivot on his part into some other thing, whereas like maybe he wanted to, sort of stay on track with what he was doing before. And I sometimes feel that way a little bit about my channel, because like if you look at my channel now, mostly what's up there is podcasts. And I mean, I just put a tutorial out like yesterday and it did super well, but like, mostly it's podcasts at this point. And I do see quite a lot of comments of people being like, oh man, how about like putting up a tutorial? Because, they initially followed because they wanted to see me doing tutorials. They didn't really follow for the podcast.
Sure.
But I'm a big fan of having my shit available everywhere, which is why I still do it and don't listen to those people. But I think I can understand his perspective if that was it.
For sure. And you're right. And that's kind of the vibe that I was getting as well. It seemed interesting because like from my perspective, I was like, you don't even have to do anything. Like I'm doing all this for you. Like, big people coming on a show. But the perspective that you just provided is actually, I feel like, is very logical and very legitimate. If it's not what he was wanting to do or it's not in line with the vision that he had, that completely makes sense. And, I have to respect that because that's his platform, right?
Well, I can give you another example of some time when that's happened to me when it was not beneficial.
Yeah.
Was when I posted a meme once to my Mr. Bill Facebook page. And at the time I want to say like, I don't know, 20,000 followers on Facebook or something. And overnight that number jumped to 50,000. And the post has like, I don't know, 1.5 million shares. Like it was probably like the most viral thing on Facebook that day. It was this fucking meme that I posted from my artist page. And really what it ended up happening is it really destroyed my artist page, because now whenever I post, 2/3 of the audience that I'm posting to are just people who want to see another meme, and only 1/3 or 2/3 of the audience, or 2/5 or whatever the fuck, are like people who don't give a shit about, who actually give a shit about my music. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
So maybe, I can see like maybe he was trying to stop something like that from happening, perhaps.
Of course. Okay. That's actually a really good perspective. And that sucks because you finally were able to tap into the beautiful algorithm, but in the wrong way. And now it's
and then like to Multiplier's credit, it'd be like me, or it'd be like my manager, for instance, was telling me, he's like, dude, fuck it. Like, this is great. Like, you got a lot of numbers on your page now. You're getting so much traffic from this. But in my opinion, and I turned out to be right, was that, yeah, sure, it's like a lot of traffic, but it's the wrong kind of traffic,
Indeed.
Because it's like, I'd prefer to have 100 people on my page with full engagement who are actually going to give a shit about the stuff that I put out and buy the shit that I put out and support me as an artist and all of that kind of stuff, rather than have 50,000 people on my page who literally just want to see memes because I don't make memes. So
that makes complete sense. It does seem that the situation with Multi was slightly different because I was bringing in the exact audience that he wanted to. However, I do agree with what you were saying, because maybe it just wasn't in the avenue in which he wanted to bring those people in, right? Maybe he wanted to bring them in the fashion that he wanted to. But still, your point is very valid and it's very eye-opening, and I appreciate that, actually.
Yeah, for sure. So another thing I wanted to talk about in what you were saying is learning from people who are good teachers. Learning from people who are good producers, who are like crushing it in the industry and stuff like that. I don't necessarily think that good producers, though, are always good teachers.
I could agree.
Like, for instance, I've heard really sick producers before, and I don't know, I won't like mention names, but there's a few like, pretty iconic large tutorials out there from back in the day from specific dubstep producers and whatnot, who are just like the worst at teaching, right? Like, they're not fucking good at explaining at all what they do. They're amazing at making music and they're amazing DJs, but it's almost like they intrinsically know this stuff and they have real trouble articulating it to somebody else. And the same applies in like esports, right? Like, you can hear a commentator of like a Counter-Strike game or something, sort of talking about the game, and they're able to articulate like all of the points of the game really interestingly and all of this shit. But like, if they actually played the game, they'd get their ass kicked by these pro players. But if you listen to some of these pro players like actually talk in interviews and stuff like that, and I don't mean to be like inconsiderate or whatever, but like a lot of them are sort of on the spectrum, it seems like, and they're just not good at articulating ideas. Like, they're fucking amazing at the game, but they're just not super good at articulating what they're trying to say about the game, even though they intrinsically really know what they're doing. And I feel like that's the case sometimes for producers, and not to say that like producers or whatever who can't explain their shit are like on the spectrum, but like definitely I feel like you know what I mean? Like it's almost like there's some teachers that I've heard before who may not make great music and who may not be like crushing it in the industry and who may not be like, you know, writing stuff that I care about or anything like that, but they're just so fucking good at explaining the program. And yeah, I mean, I think there's like a lot of value for that. So I understand what you're saying too, and I appreciate that as perspective as well, as like, yeah, you want to be learning off like, you know, someone who's actually doing it, because it feels more legitimate to actually believe that information versus some information from some tech guy or whatever who doesn't know how to make a tune but knows how to read a manual or something.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know, like that's been my experience a lot of the time. Is a lot of the time I've gotten really good information from people who are not very good at writing music, and I've had the same experience a lot of the time, especially collaborating with friends and stuff who are amazing producers and not being able to get super good information out of them.
You know, I completely agree with what you're saying. And if we're being candid, which I really appreciate your candidness here, there have been people that, in theory, according to looking at their social media numbers or onto their Spotify numbers, in theory, having them on the show would have provided a very informational and very enlightening episode. However, that was not the case. I'm not going to say any names. However, there have been people that we've had on that have ridiculously smaller numbers, like haven't even broken 10K monthly listeners on Spotify, and they are geniuses, like actual literal geniuses. So I want you to know that we're definitely not a platform where we're trying to just bring on people with huge numbers, but you know, we're trying to find that sweet spot where it's like, okay, they have broken through and received success, and they are really freaking good at explaining what they're talking about. Unless we find someone that is so ridiculously good, unbelievably freaking good, but maybe has a smaller audience, then at that point, you know, it's like, no, we still need to have them on because this is going to make an unbelievable episode. And those are actually the episodes that I personally love the most, in my opinion. Yeah,
Austin is a great example of that. He's somebody who's like crushing it in the industry and is also just like super good at articulating the ideas that he has about like synthesis and whatnot. And
I completely agree.
Yeah,
the dude, oh man, that guy is unbelievably smart, man. I can only imagine when you two get in the studio and just like start speaking so fast about technical terms that most people, like, it's just a different language to them. So that's so cool, man.
Totally. Yeah. I think I had Austin on here like a few days ago, and some of the I don't know, he has just like such a deep understanding of shit like phase, like stuff that I just don't like. I kind of grasp what phase is, you know, it's like stuff on the time domain and the relationship between such stuff. But I don't think I just like grasp it quite as intrinsically and innately as he does. It's like he just fucking knew what it was when he was born or something.
Oh my gosh, dude. When we've done 2 courses together. We've done the school base and the Serum Masterclass, and I can genuinely say that I when we were recording, I was just taking mental notes the entire time. I'm like, I wonder how many times he's going to say the word phase in each video. It came out being like 500 times or something like that. Like it's actually insane. Yeah. Almost every single time I was like, why does this do this? Or why would you do this? Or how do you do this? And he's like, oh, it's because of the phase rotation and the phase incoherencies. And once you do this, and like it almost always had to do with phase. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, I found I think the way that you approach this stuff is pretty interesting too, because like I was saying before, I don't think necessarily some people are as good at explaining stuff as they are at doing it. And I think that the way you do it kind of solves that problem a little bit. Like I watched some of the schooler-based course with AE5, and it's like, not that he's a bad teacher, but it's like having you next to him in the studio as you're recording the course to sort of like, you know, bounce ideas off and like reiterate certain things that you think are interesting and stuff like that. I thought was like a good angle.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and same with the in the DAW stuff. You know, it's like you could get somebody who's an amazing producer who isn't maybe so good at talking about how to produce, and because you or whoever else is there on the channel, sort of guiding them through it, who maybe do have these like slightly more nuanced teaching skills. It kind of like fixes that problem a little bit.
I completely agree, and I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of making music, do you write music as well? I don't think I've ever heard anything.
You're amongst a lot of people asking that question. And so, so I initially came into the music production realm back in 2015. And of course, that was the dream of wanting to do with everything. Along the way, I got married and had 2 kids. And everyone can agree who is married and has 2 kids that finances shoot up dramatically when that happens. And so, unfortunately, I did have to put that to the side. However, I was put in a position where I could still work within the music industry and provide for my family at the same time. That's why I started in the DAW, behind the DAW Nation, all that kind of stuff, is to do that. So the short answer is no, I don't have any music out. The long answer is I wish I had music out. It's just with everything that we have going on, man, it's so hard to stare at a computer screen all day long doing things related to music production and then in my downtime have the desire to do that. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel that for sure. Yeah. That's crazy. So you said you went to Icon. When did you finish up there?
Yeah, so that was in 2017. So I graduated in September 2017. I was the online student of the year at Icon. So yeah, that was right before my son was born. Yep.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So are you LA based? Or?
So I live just outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. I can swear on my grave I will never move to LA.
Right. That's interesting, man. I like Salt Lake City. Do you know SLDP there?
Yeah, actually, I do. I know quite a few people that have went there. That's really cool that you know that place.
Yeah, who's the guy who teaches there? I forget his name.
Personally, I don't really know the people that teach there. I just know some of the students there, but that's cool that you know them.
Okay. Yeah, I was there in October last year, and I walked in and gave a quick talk on some stuff. Yeah, cool people there. So my buddy Squanto is a dubstep guy. Uh-huh. He was living out in Utah for a while. I don't know if he's still out there. I think he might be quarantining in Massachusetts, but it's a great place, man. Fucking Salt Lake City is so nice.
Oh, dude.
I like, a lot of people talk about Colorado and the mountains and all that shit, but it's when you're in Colorado, if you're living in Denver, you're not really in the mountains.
No, you're not.
You can see them, but they're pretty far away. But if you're in Salt Lake City, man, you're fucking in the mountains. They're right there.
So AU5, right? When he flew out to do the Serum Masterclass with me, so he only ever been to Salt Lake. And so have you, just out of curiosity, is Salt Lake the only place that you've been to inside of Utah?
No, I've been to Layton and I've been to Ogden.
Okay. So you still haven't even seen the most beautiful parts yet. That's the tragic part of this conversation. So the beautiful parts are, you don't even start seeing the real beautiful parts until you really head south. So we went down to my family's cabin, which is, for those listening, I really highly encourage you to look up where this is because it's in the middle of nowhere. It's called Hatch, Utah. It has a population of 17 people. And
Hatch, Utah, I'm looking it up right now.
Do it. And then right next to Hatch, Utah is this place called Bryce Canyon. And when I took AU5 there, he was almost in tears, man. He was just this is here? This is a thing?
Holy shit, dude, this place looks insane.
That's what I'm saying, man. It
looks like Moab or something.
Oh, dude, Moab. Okay, so you know what Moab is. Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's just like that. Moab, Zion's, freaking Kanab, all these places, dude. Literally, if any of you that are listening have ever been to Red Rocks, if you could create a freaking 50-mile radius, just a landscape out of Red Rocks, that is what you're probably looking at right now, right?
Yeah. It looks fucking insane. It's the Moai or whatever, with all the stone heads and shit, but just
Exactly. So I'm always trying to convince AU5 to move here, right? Because it just makes things so much easier. And he's like, no, I can't do that. And I was like, well, just wait till we drive down there. And he's thinking a little bit harder about it, driving back to the airport,
Yeah, man, it looks amazing. That's a great place to go do a course. So what's your process, I guess, for making a course like that? Did you guys kind of just hit record on the, I assume you used a DSLR or something, and then hit record on the screen cap and then sort of just, oh shit, excuse me, sit there and shoot the shit about sound design and all that kind of stuff for, a few days straight. And then sort of when you take all the footage back and whatnot, do all the edits and try and save all the racks in folders and sort of just process everything that you did
Exactly.
like after that trip sort of thing?
Exactly. So how we would do it now is massively different than how we would have done it a year ago, which is when we did like the Serum Masterclass in the school base and things of that nature. But yeah, it's an actual freaking nightmare. So we'd have 2 video recordings. One would be from either a webcam or a DSLR camera. And then the second recording would be from our screen recording. And then we would have the internal recording of Ableton, and then we would have Austin's vocals and my vocals. And somehow getting them all to sync up is literally harder than anything else that has ever existed in all of humanity. It is actually freaking a joke.
Well, here's the way I do that is so I have my vocal mic, which is separate from my system audio.
Good.
And then I have my screen recording, and then I have a DSLR. And what I do is I play a snare really loudly out of Ableton, which gets the audio recorded into the DSLR and into my system audio and into my microphone. And then in my editing software, I just line that snare up, and then that lines all the files up.
And do you have any problem with audio drift?
I used to when I used a program called ScreenFlow on Mac.
Okay.
But for some reason, using Streamlabs OBS and a Canon 77D and a Zoom H4n, it seems pretty damn good.
Okay.
But then again, I only ever record for like 25 minutes at a time. So like,
you might have actually just changed my life. Okay, because I can say that's probably been the number one pain point that we had with anything that we've ever done, not only just courses, but like in the DAWs as well, is that because you have to manually go and line everything up, separate everything. Oh my gosh, dude. I'd literally rather paint a fence with no paint. Like it's, oh my gosh, it's the worst.
And then 20 minutes into the edit, it starts to like all drift out and you have to like figure out how to line it back up again.
Oh my gosh. That's why we have a team now, is because I literally hated that so much, man. Yeah. So that's kind of our process. We do it differently now, though. We do it a little bit differently now. Mainly the main difference is that most of the things that we recorded with some of our courses has been through Zoom. So it's been people that have been in their studio and we've been in our studio. And that is a freaking nightmare. That's like a nightmare within a nightmare, right? Because everything that can go wrong with Zoom, oh my gosh, there's so many things that can go wrong with Zoom. So now I refuse to work with anyone now unless they are in the studio with me. We are in the same room. We are filming inside the same room. And I'm going to go implement what you're talking about so that we can minimize audio drift now, visual drift, whatever it is.
So what are you using to record your audio and your video? And what are you using to edit in? Because I'm curious, like why you might be getting the drift.
Yeah. So what we were doing back with the school based with the Serum Masterclass, we were using, what is this? The Logitech Brio something or another. It's the $300 webcam for like from Costco or Best Buy or whatever, right? So that was the visual part of it, right? We no longer use that. We now have a Canon 90D, and that's helped out a lot with the quality and whatnot. So that's the camera that we have. And then for the microphone, I got a Neumann TLM 103 going into an Apollo, and then I can't remember which microphone that AU5 has. I'm not sure which one that is. But yeah, that was kind of our setup. And then we would record our screen audio we record our screen through QuickTime, and all of the internal audio was rerouted into, going from Ableton 10, rerouting into Ableton 9.
Oh, that might have been why you're getting, I don't know. And then wait, where were you doing the edit? Were you doing it? What software were you editing?
It was either so we went back and forth. Some of it was in Final Cut and some of it was in Premiere.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. The only thing I can think is maybe what you were recording the screen with and your webcam recording or whatever you were recording the other visual with were just recorded maybe at different frame rates.
Very big possibility. Extremely huge possibility.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know. I don't know a lot about that stuff, but yeah, luckily I haven't recorded a tutorial in a long ass time. I did my first one again like this week in about a year. And I know what you're talking about because with the Art of Mr. Bill season 1, I had that problem and it was fucking so annoying. And I haven't had that problem for a while. And
I'm glad to hear that. Okay, so that actually gives me hope for the future because it was the bane of my existence, dude. So I appreciate you giving me your advice with that.
Yeah. No, I've had that same problem before, and I know how painful it is.
Man.
So where did you get like all your marketing skills from? Because I've noticed, like in terms of ads, I just see in the door ads like pre-rolling on fucking like every YouTube video, and I see them on Instagram all the time. I see them on Facebook. Like I'm just I guess curious. Like obviously you're very entrepreneurial inclined, and whatnot. I'm just curious, like, where you kind of found all those skills, or was it something that you just decided, I have kids, I want to make money, and then like just started reading a shitload about like ads and stuff?
This is a really good question, and I apologize in advance if I get very, very, very passionate about this, because this is something that like I really get really excited about and very angry about at the same time. So we might be getting, really, really intense with this question, but I appreciate you asking this because this is something I'm very passionate about.
Okay.
So, where do we begin? So what blows my mind consistently is this ability that we have, this resource that we have, which is the internet. Never before in all of history have we been able to have a tool that allows us to connect with almost literally anyone on any corner of the earth, right? And that has always blown me away. It's like, dude, like the internet can connect you with anyone. You can do anything with it. And one of the biggest pain points that I have had with not only like when I first started learning music and releasing, a few things underneath another alias that I'll never reveal to the public. But the pain point that I have with that, as well as a lot of the pain points that I've talked to with amazing producers, is that this idea that you create something, you pour your heart and soul into a creation, into a song, into an EP, into an album, and then you release it and it doesn't have the life that it should. It doesn't reach the people that it was meant to reach. I'm not talking about this in a vain point. Like, it's not like, oh man, I didn't get 1 million streams. I don't care about that. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm referring to is how, basically it didn't reach and help the people that it could have. It didn't change the lives that it could have. You know what I mean? I'm sure you've had this with your music. AU5 has told me many times how people have reached out to him saying this song helped them more than anything with this specific struggle that they were going, or gave them enlightenment in the area that they needed to. But the fact that could be bottlenecked somehow, the fact that you can't get that out to the people that it could get out to, is something that eats me alive. The fact that we have this unbelievably powerful thing, which is the internet, but no one, literally almost no one, knows how to use it, how to take something and blast it out to the world, to the people that are most likely going to love it and most likely going to be affected by it, eats me alive, Bill. Like it keeps me up at night. So with that is when I started walking down this path of how can you actually use marketing? How can you actually use the internet in the proper way so that you can create something that you absolutely love, that you poured your heart and soul into, and then get it out to the people that is actually going to help and that actually care about it. Like that's where all of this started, right? Mm-hmm. And then what came from that was, naturally, I was like, okay, like right now this is all centered around music. Like it's all like centered around like getting your music out to people. Okay, so I'm going to go learn from people in the music industry that assumingly are really good at that. So I started listening to podcasts about music business. I started listening to, or started reading blogs and YouTube videos about music marketing and stuff like that. But in almost every single podcast and almost every single blog post that I ever read or YouTube video that I watched, it's like, it didn't really make sense. It's like, wait, from everything that I know about marketing, which wasn't a lot at that point, it's just like, but you seem to be contradicting yourself. What do you mean you do this strategy and this strategy? That seems really that sounds like hopeful marketing. Like it sounds like you just put it out there and hope that it works, right? But that's not how marketing works in any other industry in the entire world. Marketing in any other industry in the entire world, you put money in and you have formulas and you have reasonable doubt that things are going to work. With music, it just sounds like no one knows. You just throw it out into the internet and hopefully it works. And so that really, 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 really freaking bugged me. And so I decided for a time to completely separate myself from the music industry, because I was like, okay, I'm not finding anyone in the music industry that really seems to know what they're talking about. So I'm going to go off of the music industry and look into other industries and see what they are talking about and see if I can make sense of what's going on. And I can tell you, Bill, that was the smartest decision. Not the smartest. I made a lot of smart decisions, but that was one of the smartest decisions that I've ever made. From there, I was able to go and learn about people like John Lee Dumas from Entrepreneurs on Fire. I was able to learn about Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. I was able to learn about Dean Graziosi, Tony Robbins. And for those listening, I'd highly encourage you to go check out these people. and their mindset of marketing and how to do things and how to present your things in the world, and how to use the internet to do this was actually like freaking mind blowing. Like it was life changing what I learned from them. And so from there, that's when I started to learn the tactics that actually worked. That was actually like, this freaking makes sense. This really makes sense. And so that's when I started implementing what I learned from them over to what like we were doing within the DAW and behind the DAW. And we started implementing with our courses and things like that. And everything just erupted at that time. And it was just like, we couldn't keep up with the amount of growth that we were having. And I was just like, this is it. This is it. And I was so excited, like so freaking excited. It's like, this is marketing. This makes sense. You do this and it does this and it works like this and blah, 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 blah. But the thing is that the more that I tried to integrate these ideas outside of the music industry, these marketing ideas outside the industry, to these people like these record label holders or these agencies that were specifically focused on music promotion and things of that nature, or independent artists that are trying to grow a thing, the more that I try to tell people, I can't explain the amount of pushback that I've had where they're just like, there's no way. There's absolutely no freaking way that this could work. And I'm like, dude, just, like I understand the skepticism, but just try it. Literally just try it. There's no harm in trying it. But like the amount of like stubbornness of being like, absolutely not. We will not do that. We will not try what was working in this other industry is like really quite shocking. And so I kind of had to take matters into my own hands as far as marketing on a music promotional basis. And so I had to like go and find people that were willing to try these things. And holy crap, Bill, like the things that we are figuring out right now on the back end right now with kind of, because it's kind of a side project. It's not really what we're doing mainly with like DAW Nation, but these things that we're testing on the back end, implementing these marketing strategies that I've learned into music production is when we really expose what we've talked about, it's going to be freaking huge. But getting back to the question that you were talking about, that is how I got started into all of this and how I've learned the things that I've learned and continue to learn the things that I've learned, because my personal belief is the most powerful weapon that you could ever have in your entire life when it comes to your music career is the internet. If you can learn how to use the internet, you can grow any brand, you can grow anything, you can become anything that you want to. Because at that point, you know how to take the weapon, find the people that actually love what you are doing. You'll never have to compromise on any artistic decision ever again, because you can go find those people and you can scale that up into infinity because of how big the world is. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I have a few notes, and apologies if you heard me typing
no, it's fine. Totally fine.
The time you're talking.
Please.
I was just typing down. Yeah, I was just typing notes down to like respond about, because otherwise I would forget them.
Of course. And tear me apart. Like if I love this. If you have if you disagree with me, I love this. I'd love to do that. So go ahead and hit me.
I don't disagree, but there's like a few forks that I want to make in that conversation and just like open up a little further.
Let's do it.
So one was you said like people sort of like spend all this time on music and think that it's going to be like this kind of timeless thing, and it just doesn't reach enough people, right? Mm-hmm. And that like sort of online music has a bit of a shelf life or whatever. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's true, but I feel like a lot of it has a shelf life because of the way that people go about writing music. I feel like there's a lot of this mentality of I have to make a dubstep song that sounds kind of like this other dubstep song I heard because that got X amount of plays on Spotify, and I would like to get X amount of plays on Spotify, and therefore clearly what I need to do is replicate this thing that already exists, right? Mm-hmm. Like that seems to be sort of the logic a lot of people are working on, and I feel like that is what really gives music a shelf life. Is when you're doing that, you're always going to be so far behind the actual people who are inventors, like if you take Skrillex, for example, he's an inventor for sure. Like he's an amazing forward thinking producer. But when you take other people who are like, well, because that works so well, I need to do it, that's going to give all of the stuff coming off the back of Skrillex's music in its wake such a shelf life, because it's just replicated copies of, and obviously not felt from the heart type of shit. Whereas say somebody like Tipper, who clearly just makes music because he loves to do it, and clearly just makes the shit that makes him feel really good or really bad, whatever emotion he's trying to convey, and is just so good at doing that. I mean, shit, you can listen to albums of his from like 2008 and they still sound incredibly relevant. Mm-hmm. So I think that's point number one.
I agree.
point number 2 is I think it's also possible to foster a community around your music that doesn't require marketing. And another great example of this is Tipper. For instance, he never really posts on social media, never really makes a big deal about anything. And then, he's just been doing it for so long. And I will say, in your defense, it has taken him 20 years to foster this community. But he's at the point now where he literally just writes an EP, 6 tracks or whatever, or an album, puts it out on Bandcamp and posts about it maybe one time, and his community surrounding him just fucking goes nuts, and just word of mouth just carries it around, right?
Of course.
And I think the same can be said a little bit for making music. If you make music with a shitload of detail in it that kind of warrants paying a ton of attention to, then you're going to attract that kind of attention where people, really pay attention to your music. And a good example of that is, say, a band like Tool, right? Their music just warrants that much attention to detail with your listening, because it has actually required that much thought to make in its process. I think a lot of these people who are making this more sort of simple stuff, and they will even probably in the studio be espousing ideas well, we can't do anything too complicated because, that's not going to hit if we do something that's too complicated. And we can't go too far in this weird direction that's too experimental, and that's going to isolate a lot of people from being able to enjoy it and stuff like that. But then they also wonder why they're not getting this incredibly deep look at their music. It's well, you're not making music that warrants an incredibly deep look, and you're actually intentionally doing that by sitting in the studio saying these things and behaving this way. So that's point number 2. I think it's possible to foster a community that doesn't require marketing to have your music be listened to upon its release. And the other thing that I wanted to address is when you're talking about people who just would not try things that you would suggest to them. I think there's this a lot of people in the music industry are just kind of scared of marketing a little bit. They think it's shilly, and they think if I do this, I'm going to be seen as a hacky shill kind of gross marketing fucking person or something like that. And I'll lose the respect of a lot of my OG fans who just liked me for my music or whatever. And so I think I just wanted to address that too, and say that I think that's the reason, or one of the reasons, probably there's many reasons of why a lot of people in the music industry don't really like to get too heavily into marketing and try to rely on the music a little bit more to do the talking kind of thing.
Of course. And just out of curiosity, and your editor can edit this out. It's more so just as a personal question to you. Are you okay if we be okay, you said that, but I kind of disagree, and I kind of want to counter that and bring this up? Are we okay to have that kind of conversation? Would you be okay if I countered you on some of those points?
Absolutely. No, that's exactly what this podcast is for. Yeah.
Perfect.
And I don't, that absolutely.
Okay,
man.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Cause there have been some people that I've countered on other podcasts, and they've been extremely offended because of it. And so I just wanted to make
that's fucking stupid. No, I literally started this podcast to have these kind of conversations with people. And I love a discourse, a good hearted discourse where the goal of this is not for me to try and be right and you to be wrong, or you to be right and me to be wrong. The whole point of this discourse is just to gain a better understanding of where everyone's at. If you tell me a bunch of stuff and I don't necessarily agree, I still kind of win from that, because then I just have a better understanding of the world and the people in it, right?
Sure. Okay, that makes me feel a lot better. Okay, so then with what you were saying then is, I want to go back to, with the first point that you made. I completely agree with you. No disagreements with there. There is a portion of what you brought up with point number 2 that I do disagree with. And so how you're saying that you can build a community without marketing. In fact, I would say it's almost impossible to, because even though you're not running ads, even though you're not running an Instagram ad and convincing people to come over to your page or anything like that, it's still marketing whenever you put something out and you're trying to get people into your world. Now, I don't know that much about Tipper. Maybe he is the type of person where he just put it out and he's I literally do not care if one person listens to this. I just want to put it out there. I'm not sure if he's like that, or if he's no, I do want to have a fan base. But it's still considered marketing whenever you put something out and you're trying to get someone to come and follow you and come to be a part of a community. It's just not the normally defined version of marketing, like running ads and things of that nature. So that's the first thing I kind of wanted to bring up. But then secondly, you know, I understand the concept that you're talking about. Like, he was able to build this community, and, you know, he never really ran ads. He never really did a lot of advertising, stuff like that. And I can bring up some people who did that as well. You know, like, one guy that I really think is crushing it right now and like basically is doing no advertising whatsoever is Eliminate. He's doing absolutely fantastic with his Twitch stream, with like it seems like everything he touches turns to gold. Crywolf is another one. He has just like one of the most concerning cult followings I've ever seen. He doesn't really do that much advertising.
So I don't know about Crywolf, but definitely Eliminate releases on Disciple who do run ads.
Okay,
though.
that's a really fair point. Okay, so
Tipper is completely Bandcamp. That's
okay.
it.
So let me go ahead and etch a sketch that. Okay, so remove Eliminate from the process. But there are people out there, right, that are just like ridiculously good that aren't running ads and somehow coming through. But I do feel like for every person that we can bring up, like Tipper or Crywolf, I can also bring up 100 other people that are trying to do the same thing and not getting that result. So it's I do just want to bring up like the novelty or the anomaly version of that. And so one thing I just don't want people to do is being like, wow, Tipper did it, therefore I never have to learn about marketing ever, and I just need to do this. And
to caveat Tipper's career, like I said, it took him 20 years to do. So I think, and the other thing is like his music is just super fucking unique.
Of course.
Just like Eliminate's music is super unique as well. And I think, you know, part of what I think Seth Godin said this, where he said, like, you have to do something that is familiar so people understand it and feel comfortable around it, but it also has to be a little bit unique and a little bit different, right?
Of course.
And I think Eliminate has done that with sort of like rhythm, hybrid, trap, EDM stuff, and I feel like Tipper's done that with hip-hop, electronic, trip-hop kind of stuff.
I completely agree. Really quick question. What was, I as soon as you start talking about it, I'm going to remember, what was the third point that you brought up from the conversation?
I was talking about how some people in the music industry are sort of like fearful of marketing because they feel like it'll be shilly or something like that.
Yes. Okay. And so I want to touch on that one more time, because that is whenever there's definitely been people that I've had the marketing talk with and they've accepted it. Like 85 is one of those guys. He just saw the logic and he's like, absolutely, let's do this. And then there's been other people where I've had the marketing talk with and they did exactly what you said. They're just, they think it's scammy. They think it's unauthentic. They think it's I believe the word you used was shrilly. And I can completely understand that. Like, obviously there's a lot of like, you know, if you're trying to make really emotional music, but you have to use the tactics that people are using at 3 a.m. on an infomercial trying to sell you some special type of knife, then obviously there seems to be some kind of disconnect. However, I do want to counter that and say marketing, when done right, will never put you in that position. It will never.
I agree. Yeah, you need to build like campaigns that are suitable for like the artist and suitable for the product that you're selling and stuff.
Exactly. And also the choosing the path to not market yourself or market your music. I personally feel like, and I'm completely fine if you disagree with this, I feel like is one of the most selfish things that you can do. Because again, you have one of the most powerful weapons in the entire world to reach the people that will love you, but you are making an active decision not to connect with those people and to only allow a very small amount of people to partake of your art because you don't want to do that.
I totally agree with that.
Okay.
I think another thing is that a lot of people see it as a gamble, right? Like a lot of people see this whole, oh fuck, I got to pay Facebook $10 to like show my shit to my fans who have like come to like my page. Like fuck that, like they've come to like my page. I should be able to connect with them if I want.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg. And then they like don't want to give Mark money, but I think it's pretty tried and tested at this point that, you know, regular marketing is like you put in $1, you get out $2, but internet marketing is insane. It's like you put in $1 and you get out 10.
Exactly. And so I want to let you know that whenever someone brings up that argument, it's like, oh, but I don't want to pay Mark Zuckerberg amount of money to whenever someone says stuff like that, that is one of the funnest arguments to just dismantle because of this. Our ancestors are looking beyond the grave and they are looking at this tool that we have and they are like, are you freaking kidding me? I planted corn and hay and wheat and had to freaking live in the middle of nowhere. You carry around a thing that can connect you with all of the world all at once and it takes $10 to reach 10,000 people. Are you freaking kidding me right now? And so like, yes, like it of course, like it'd be great if we could grow platforms like our Facebook pages and be able to access that all at once. Yes, that would be the utopia. I completely agree. However, Mark Zuckerberg, we don't own our Facebook pages. We are just renting that digital space from him whenever we grow that, and we have to realize that.
I would argue that we're not even like, that's not the reason that Facebook exists. I would argue that we're actually, I mean, and this is not a new idea, that we're the product of Facebook and now data is being sold to other companies.
Oh yeah, of course. That's 100% going on. You're absolutely right. But yeah, just still this concept of, I don't want to pay to reach an unbelievable amount of people for a very small amount of money is like just so, like, do you understand what you have? Do you really understand what you have? To me, like, I've thought about this before. I tried to equate that scenario to like 200 years ago in the 1800s. To properly equate that to like the 1800s would be to have this unbelievably huge diamond, like this foot-long diamond that you have, and you're like, I slept on the floor last night and I haven't eaten for 3 days. Oh, what is this diamond here? Just get it out of the way. It's so annoying. Why do I have this thing? It's like, dude, you're sitting on something that can completely change your life and change your entire family. You could change the entire freaking city's life with something like that. And so, like, it just blows me away that people can't grasp that and use that to their advantage.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of principle basis there too, right? Like there's a little bit of the principle of like, yeah, I could like, you know, give Mark Zuckerberg money and I'm sort of just playing devil's advocate
Of
here.
course, play it.
Yeah, I could give Mark Zuckerberg money and you know, get something back from it. But it's like the principle that he owns like fucking 20 Lamborghinis and lives in a giant house and owns like more money than anyone. Like, why should I just contribute to that at all?
Sure. And if that's the case, then go ahead and go over to YouTube or TikTok or Spotify or SoundCloud, or you know what I mean? You can go to any you can go find a platform that you want to. I feel like you'd be shooting yourself in the foot ridiculously to say, I am not going to put my music out to the people that really need this because therefore Mark Zuckerberg is going to benefit from it as well. I feel like that's very short-sighted and ultimately going to screw a lot of people over.
Yeah, agreed. Mm-hmm. But there's also like grassroots methods too, right? Like what was that lady, Amanda Palmer, who toured for a long ass time? I guess she was kind of already successful. And then, you know, would stay on fans' couches and all that stuff, and then started a GoFundMe because she didn't want to like be indebted to a record label. And she was kind of like one of the first people like at the forefront of crowdfunding to prove that this model works, and got given like fucking $1 million or some shit to like record an album.
Of course.
By just her fans.
And those sorry, keep going.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, I think like this grassroots method is still sort of legitimate and can be done. But yeah, I also agree with you that like it's kind of a hit or miss kind of thing. Whereas like marketing on the like internet marketing, running ads on YouTube pre-rolls and getting it in Instagram feeds and stuff like that, it's almost like a surefire thing.
Exactly, and you're absolutely right. Of course you can go do grassroots stuff. Of course you can do guerrilla marketing. Of course you can go stand out in front of the oh my gosh, what's it called, the venue where your favorite artist that you sound like is playing and hand out your USBs. Of course you could do that, and you're going to see a result. But I guess the question is like, where is your time best spent? You got to remember, you have very limited time on this earth. You have very precious time on this earth. Me personally, I want to use that time to the best of my advantage, 100% to the best of my advantage. And to me, I don't know anything else that could give me a bigger bang for my buck than the internet. Like you said, normal businesses, they want to put in $1 and get out 2. The internet, you put out 1 and get back 10. You know what I mean? Like,
right, yeah. No, it's insane. And I've done this and I understand it completely. I guess like my next question would be like, do you think there's sort of a limit here where if everybody just starts marketing, and this might be something that we see in like, 10 or 20 years where it's just sort of commonplace to be like, yeah, that's the next step after you finish writing your music is do marketing. And it's just like not even a question. Like everybody knows that that's what works. Then what? Because like, obviously there was these sort of methods on Facebook and shit like that back in the day where people were like, the thing that works is video content, like, or photos, like, and people were trying to sort of hack the algorithm in the early days of Facebook. And then it's almost like as soon as everybody figured it out, Facebook put a money block there,
Yeah, okay.
And I kind of am curious, like, do you think, 10 years down the track when internet marketing is like, or even 5 years or 2 years, who the fuck knows, everything's growing so fast now that everyone knows like that's sort of like the next step after you finish your music is like you release it and chuck money into internet marketing. So then what? We have thousands of artists, like the amount of artists we have now. It's like there's more producers and people on the planet who are running pre-roll ads on all YouTube videos. Then does it become a less powerful thing? Or
That's such a good question. So I want to give you the realistic answer, and then I want to give you the theoretical answer, okay? So the realistic answer is this. When it comes to anything marketing or business related, I can genuinely say this from all the studying that I've done and from all the people I've talked about, the music industry is generally 10 to 15 years behind in marketing than literally any other industry in the entire world. In fact, I work a lot. Like I have a private mastermind that I'm a part of with other internet marketers, and the music industry, not from me, but from the other people in there, is the butt of the joke every single time. Every single time we're like, at least we're not marketers in the music industry. Geez, those Neanderthals. Like literally, that is it every single time. So the realistic answer is, do I think that the music industry will ever catch up to what is actually currently working right now on a mass scale? Absolutely not. The data, the evidence, and the history of that is completely contrary to that statement. However, let's talk about it theoretically, or maybe something crazy does happen and it does scale up to that amount. And it does scale up.
Like musicians all of a sudden decide they're going to be not fucking arty and they're going to pay attention to what's going on.
Exactly. Or have that perfect combination of still being arty and still leveraging marketing. Let's say that happened, all right? Let's say that was a reality. Welcome to utopia, because you got to remember, just because everyone gets into something, I don't believe in this concept of oversaturation, not in the amount of people that live in this world, because someone could make the exact same argument. It's like 30 years ago, it's like, oh, thank goodness that we only sell records and that only some people can create music, because if everyone could create music, oh my gosh, it'd be so saturated. Well, here we are, how long was that? 50 years later. And we're like, thank goodness we're not back then, because I'd still have to be listening to music that I only kind of like. Now there's this really crazy, weird music that I can go and find by myself. If people actually knew how to do this, they would be consistently putting their music in front of the people that actually want to hear their music. You got to remember, when you do marketing right, you put it in front of the people who actually want this kind of stuff.
Right.
And so if everyone was doing that, we, the consumer, would never have to waste our time sifting through crap music, because if everyone knew how to market perfectly, I would be able to hop on YouTube, or I'd be able to listen to a Spotify ad or anything of that nature and be like, Wyatt, do you really like AU5 style music? I do. Do you also like rap music like NF? I do. Here is the perfect combination of this person. Well, hot diggity daffodil. Thank you, marketing, for helping me find this perfect combination of what I wanted. Right? And we would basically be in a musical utopia at that point, because you would find the people that actually wanted to, and those people that are creating what you want would come and find you. It would be amazing, in my opinion. You see what I'm saying?
So it almost, right. Yeah, I guess I feel like what's going to happen instead of that is AI will just figure that out for us, right? And it already kind of is. Like, if you're on Netflix and you watch 10 things, it has a pretty good idea of the shit you like to watch and starts showing you that kind of stuff.
Oh, isn't it beautiful?
It's like if you've ever logged into your girlfriend's Netflix, you're like, what is all this bullshit?
Exactly,
and then you like go into your own one and you're like, oh, this is amazing. This is all the shit I exactly want to watch.
Could you imagine if you had an AI on your side? Could you imagine that? An AI being like, what's up, bro? I'm going to go show your music to 300,000 people today that I know are going to love your music. I'll be back in a second. Could you imagine
that's
that?
Like it's like the power of big data.
Exactly.
But I mean, that's sort of technology at the moment is reserved for these giant companies. But yeah, perhaps it'll be like a more independently achievable thing in the future.
Oh, I completely agree. And I really can't wait for that. Still don't think that people in the music industry are going to do it. I can almost guarantee that 10 years from now, the music industry is just going to be getting into like, wait, maybe we should run Instagram story ads. And all the rest of us marketers are going to be like, oh, fudge, dude. Really?
Yeah, I feel that. And I think that just comes from like the hippie sort of mindset that musicians have always had. They're always like, no, man, I got to stay like true to my shit. And I respect that. I think that's great. I mean, those kind of people on the planet make the world a pleasant place to live. Like, have you ever gone to a music festival and, full of like these really nice, good-hearted people? I love that shit. But like, yeah, versus like, if you go to a tech thing, like I don't know, DEF CON or something. I've never been to DEF CON, but I can only assume it's like, well, maybe that's a bad example. Maybe like a some sort of entrepreneurial marketing networking meetup or something. I can only imagine like the vibe there is fucking quite different.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because that is one thing that is one of the biggest pushbacks that I get from trying to incorporate this marketing is a really good thing mind state, which is people have this mentality that there is no possible way. There's actually literally no possible way for you to be arty, for you to be authentic, for you to create what you want and stay true to yourself while simultaneously learning how to market the right way or learning how to use the internet to your advantage. For some reason,
I don't
keep going.
I absolutely don't think that that's the case.
Absolutely.
I just think that like a lot of the marketing people I've met are quite shilly,
of course,
and are quite like disingenuous, and literally the reason they get into it is because they like money.
I agree with that. I completely agree with that. However, for every person that I have found like that in the marketing space, I can find just as many in the music space of people wanting to do music for like, oh, I want it for the girls, I want it for the dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally, absolutely agreed. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of wanted to finish up on this final question, which is that like what advice would you give then to say kids who are, or not kids, for people who are just like doing anything, whether they be making tutorials on YouTube, whether they be making sample packs, whether they be releasing music independently on Bandcamp, or even releasing music on a label, but the label's not doing as much marketing as they should, or if they're writing blogs, who knows, whatever. What advice would, like, where's a good starting point, do you think, for these people to start like reading about like where they should be investing their time and money, or what kind of things do you think that they can be actionably doing instantly or very soon after listening to this podcast to try and better position themselves in the industry and getting their stuff in front of the right people?
This is such a good question. I appreciate you asking this. It may be slightly lengthy, but I promise that the payout of this answer is going to be worth it, okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so hold on, I just want 1 second to collect my thoughts, because I want to make sure I put this in a way that is very easy to understand, going full circle to being the teacher that's really easy to understand, right?
Right.
The number one thing, if I was listening to this podcast and I was feeling motivated, I was feeling inspired, or even just a little bit curious about, well, maybe what Bill and Wyatt were talking about today, maybe it was true. Even if you have that little tiny spark inside of you or a huge flame, whatever it is, what I would do leaving this podcast is this. I would incorporate my personal system of what I call IMAC. IMAC is an acronym. It has nothing to do with Apple. It's just an acronym. It stands for Isolate, Master, Apply, Conquer. This is my method of learning things, of mastering things, not music mastering, but actually like becoming very skillful at something. It is my method to be able to overcome anxiety, depression, to know what the next steps in my life is. This is my self-improvement method. This is everything. Like, without this, my entire progression trajectory just goes out the window. IMAC, what I do to incorporate this, it's pretty simple to understand, right? You isolate your problem, you master your problem. Mastering meaning you go and figure out what to do to master the problem. Then you apply what you've learned. You've effectively conquered the problem and now have turned a weakness into a strength. And so I promise this is going to get back to your initial question of what to do as far as marketing or
Yeah, no, I think I can see where this is going.
Good. So my method of doing this is this. Every morning when I wake up, and I would highly encourage anyone to start waking up early. Waking up at 5 a.m. has completely changed my life. And it's when I feel the most inspired, but that's a completely different conversation. But every single morning I wake up and I've created a Google form. I open up that Google form, and basically this form allows me to understand what is going on inside of my mind. It allows me to uncover all of the monsters that are wreaking havoc inside of my mind. It allows me to understand why I feel the way that I do. The worst thing that you can do right now is just assume, oh, feelings are feelings, thoughts are thoughts. There's nothing that you can do to control them or understand them. Oh, okay, I'm just going to live my life with this monsters wreaking havoc in my mind. That's the worst thing that you can do. Every morning I wake up, I open up this form. The first question on the form, in fact, I want to pull up the form because I don't want to butcher this, okay? I want to make sure I answer this or do this completely the way that I need to. First off, I put the date there, and then the next question on the form says this: what is my biggest pain point today? What is the number one thing, the number one problem that is bothering you right now? It could be anything. It could be, I broke up with my girlfriend. I don't know how to master a song. I need samples for this song. I don't know how to sound design. How do I reach out to record labels? Me and my girlfriend are in a fight. I think I have cancer. Whatever it is, right? You write down your biggest pain point right here. Then you move on to the next section, which is called the complain list. The complain list is not what it sounds like. It's not a list that you can complain on things. It's a list where you write out every single thing possible that you can do to solve that pain point. Literally, if the list is 30 things long, the list is 30 things long. You write out literally as many things that you can do to solve that problem, even if it's just one, even if it's just go and research how to fix this problem. It doesn't matter. You write down every single thing. The concept of the complaint list is this: you do not have the right to complain until you have done every single thing on that list. You do not have the right to complain until you have tried everything. Once you've tried everything and you still haven't solved it, then you have the right to complain. Most of the time, you're going to hit like the second or third thing and solve your problem. But you make the complaint list. Right after that is a form that says, what are 5 things that I'm grateful for? My wife, my kids, the fact that I'm not blind, the fact that I live in a first world country, the fact that I have socks, the fact that whatever you want to say, right? The next question is, how do I feel today? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling depressed? Am I feeling tired? Am I feeling excited, motivated? You put that there. The next thing is, what will I do today to feel the way that I want to feel? What will I do today in order to feel the way that I want to? Then the next thing, and this is kind of like the freaking blind side to it all, is what is a much bigger issue that I am not currently experiencing that would dwarf what I am currently going through, right? So I'll tell you what my biggest problem is right now. The biggest problem that I have right now is that one of the ads for the Serum Masterclass is not converting the way that I want it to. So in this section where I would say a much bigger problem that is bigger than that, it'd be like my wife dying, my kids being taken away from me, something like that. So all of a sudden, if you can think about a problem that is much bigger than the one that you are currently experiencing, it puts your problem in perspective, being like, okay, like my problem is a lot smaller. That's really freaking good. At least I'm not experiencing some extremely tragic thing like this. The reason why I do this every single day is because, like I mentioned, it allows me to be able to reach inside of my mind and see what is actually there. A lot of the time, you gotta think about it, a lot of the time, we already have the tools in our mind to solve the problems that we have. We've read a book somewhere, we've had this thought one time, we had this idea, we thought about reaching out to this person, we thought about implementing this, but we don't do it. And they just sit there and fester inside of our minds, and then these monsters run rampant inside of your mind. Now.
So it sounds like what you do is like sort of wake up and just take stock of what's going on.
Exactly.
And I kind of do the same thing, and I've only just started doing this via meditation, and it's kind of a similar thing. It's like, but rather than sit there and sort of think about like actual things, like this very specific, like I need to pay my tax, I need to take my car to the mechanic, I need to get a haircut. Rather than talking about like actual specifics, I more or less just sort of sit and be with the state of being, and just anything that's showing up in my consciousness at all, whether it be a thought that comes into my mind that I can just observe and be like, cool, there's a thought that just came up, or like a feeling, like just a feeling tone that like, how am I feeling? I don't really think about how I'm feeling, but if it comes up, I just try and notice that feeling is coming up, and stuff like that. And I think that's a super powerful thing to do. And essentially, it seems like at the base level, the same thing. It's really just taking stock of your experience.
I completely agree. Not only taking stock of your experience, but actively trying to do the best that you can with the experience, right? Because if we're not actively trying to do things to improve our lives, we will naturally go downhill. That happens 100% of the time. And so, getting back to then, I appreciate that comment, and that's really cool that you're doing that. So now getting back to what I would do, if I was the person listening to this podcast, I would immediately create a Google form with these questions that I just stated. And could you imagine every single day you being aware of what your biggest problem is? Sound design, mixing, mastering, vocal production, collaborating, reaching out to record labels, knowing how to run Spotify ads, whatever it is, right? Could you imagine every single day you going straight to the biggest guy in the prison yard and punching him in the throat? You go straight to the thing that is bothering you the most, and you just tackle it, and you relentlessly go at it until you figure it out and turn it into a strength. Could you imagine what your life would look like in a month, in a year, in 5 years? to have that kind of motivation, to have that kind of goal, to be able to go to the number one thing that is trying to bring you down and you just slap it silly until you turn it into one of your super soldiers. Could you imagine what that would do? Now, how to implement this on a marketing. So let's say that someone's like, heck yeah, Wyatt, I'm into it. Let's do iMac. 100%, I'm an iMac kind of guy now. Then how would you implement this on a marketing thing? Because this was initially the type of question that you had, right? Okay, so now I want to kind of get into the marketing space. I want to learn how to leverage these things. How would I implement iMac on a marketing basis? What I would do is this. What is the biggest pain point with marketing? Do you not understand the theory behind it? How do you run a Facebook ad? How do you run an Instagram ad? Are they different? What is a retargeting pixel? What is an email list? Who are the people that I should be learning from in the first place? Whatever your biggest problem is, that's what you should focus on, and that's what you should go and figure out. If I was you, I would very first start off be like, where is a source? Where is a resource that I can tap into on the daily to continually start learning about things like this so that I could leverage it inside of my music? Where is a source to do that? And if I was a listener, I would go and make the biggest list possible. I would go on YouTube, I would go to a podcasting app, I would go to Google, and I type in best marketing blogs, best music marketing, whatever. Well, that kind of contradicts what I said, because usually music marketing isn't what I really agree with, right. Except from Rick Barker. He actually knows what he's talking about, so I will say that. But I would go and find literally as many podcasts, as many YouTube series, as many blogs, as many anything, the best type of media that you like to partake of that is within that thing that you are struggling with. In this case, it'd be marketing. And just start partaking of it, because it's not going to be long before you start listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube video and terms and processes and concepts that you don't understand are going to pop up. Well, guess what? Okay, let's say you're starting to watch something and they're talking about like what the freak is a Facebook pixel? He's talking about that. He's saying it's the greatest thing ever. What the freak is that? Well, then iMac, dude. Isolate it, master it, apply it, conquer it. And then, okay.
Right. Yeah, it starts to sort of give you stuff to shoot at.
Exactly. And as soon as you start walking down that pixel route, you're like, okay, now I understand what a Facebook pixel is. But wait, hold up. Does Google have their own pixel? And then you go and read, oh, yeah, they do. What, does Pinterest? Wait, can I market on Pinterest? And then all of a sudden this path just starts spider webbing into all of these things, all these concepts that you didn't know before, but you just start hitting them one by one.
So what you're saying is you would suggest everybody market themselves like independently and not hire like somebody else to do it for them, because don't you think if you're trying to be the best you could be at music and you're trying to already digest as much information as you can there, and you're trying to spend 4 to 6 hours a day on music, and then after you do so you're pretty burnt, don't you think if that's like you said your self-admission was that you don't have the energy to write music, right? So a lot of the people who are sort of maybe more in my camp of like, that's mostly what we do. You kind of end up pretty fucking burnt out at the end of that. So it's kind of like, at that point, do you think like maybe the better advice would be to sort of just hire a marketing company? Or
this is a great question. I'm so glad that you brought it up. So really quickly to clarify, I'm not just marketing all day. The reason why I'm exhausted is because I am creating products. I am running a team. I am building an unbelievably, completely unnecessary amount of funnels and so on and so forth. Like that's why I'm exhausted. If people implemented what I think that they should implement, it would only take like 30 minutes to an hour a day, and is really, really simple. However, getting back to your point. What I am saying, I want to tell you what I am saying, and I want to tell you what I'm not saying. What I am saying is that I don't think that people should rely, if someone is specifically in the music industry and they specialize with promoting things in the music industry, I would be extremely hesitant to go with that person unless they just have unbelievable results and they show you it's like we did this and this happened and here's the results, right? If that is the case, then I would go with them, because again, this is not just me saying this is everyone inside of my mastermind, almost every single marketer that I talk to. The music industry marketing scene is literally the butt of every single joke. It is just like no one knows what they're doing inside of there. But what I'm also what I'm saying is that learning marketing is extremely and vastly easier than learning music production. they're not equally, if 10 hours into music production and 10 hours into learning marketing are two completely different results. You got to remember, music production is very subjective. It's very, you have to listen to your feelings and learn how to do that. Marketing is marketing is marketing is marketing. 1 + 1 = 2. In music, 1 + 1 = a triangle. You know what I mean? Like,
or 1 + 1 to one person = 2, and to another person = fucking shit.
Exactly. Where marketing, it's a science. It's formulaic. So learning marketing is a lot easier. However, so those are the things that I am saying. It's easier. I do think that people should walk down that path just to see, number one, if they like it, and number two, it's just to see the kind of results that they have. But what I am not saying is that everyone should do that because of, out of virtue, because Wyatt said you should. There are people that will walk down the marketing path and be like, I see the results and I see that this is good for me, but I loathe what is going on here. I hate making ads. I hate turning off keywords inside of Google AdWords. I hate XYZ. And for those people, I say, that's totally fine. That is why agencies exist. That is why external marketers exist. Or maybe you're the type of person that's like, listen, I'm producing 12 hours per day. I don't have time to market. Well, then that's fine too. That's why agencies exist. That's fine. It's just picking the right type of agency. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, Wyatt, bro, I just released on insert label here, and they're not pushing my music, and I'm screwed. I'm giving them 50% of the cut, and this was supposed to be my biggest EP or my biggest song, and now what the freak do I do? If I had a quarter for every time that has happened in the last year, I would have like $11.75. That's way too much money to have. And so, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. No, I understand completely. Yeah, and I agree with you. I think marketing in that sense is important. And I know the few people I know in the music industry who do go really ham on marketing, such as yourself and the guys over at GGD. I don't know if you're familiar with that company.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you probably are. If you're ever on Instagram and stuff, they're kind of the same as DAW Nation. It's like you'll see the shit pop up constantly. And yeah, a few other companies like that. Like all the people I know who are doing it are just crushing it and they're doing so well. So it clearly works if you know how to do it right. And it doesn't come off as too shilly. I mean, I don't look at GGD or DAW Nation as these sort of greasy head, slimy sort of, here, come and check out the shit in the boot of my Cadillac type companies or whatever. Yeah, cool, man. Well, hey, man, I appreciate the conversation. I kind of want to wrap it up.
Of course.
Is there any final things you might want to plug, like maybe resources people can go check out to learn more about marketing stuff, or you're more than welcome to plug all of your own stuff if you would like on this platform. Totally cool with me. Or just any final parting words or thoughts that you might want to leave people with?
For sure. So let me get the plug out really quick, because that is important. Let me get the plug out really quick. So first off, if anyone wants to find out more about DAW Nation, our In the DAW series or our Behind the DAW series or any of our courses, anything of that nature, you can go over to dawnation.net and find out more about there. If you're really interested in learning from the people that are actually currently doing it in the music industry and learning straight from the source, that I'd highly encourage you to head on over there, check that out. You can also follow us on any social media, DAW_Nation. We love hearing from you. We'd love to, answer any questions of that nature. As far as marketing resources, personal marketing resources that I would encourage people to go check out that I know would really, really help them, I'd highly encourage every single person to drop everything that they own and go research a guy by the name of Russell Brunson. He is unbelievable. He is literally the king of marketing, and he is unbelievably smart. He's got a podcast. He's got a YouTube channel. He also runs a company called ClickFunnels, which is what we do all of our marketing through. Actually, literally a genius. And just by virtue of going and listening to him, he's going to drop names of other people to research, and he's going to be interviewing other people that are going to be that are going to have podcasts that you can go check out. Also, if you look him up on YouTube, there'll be related videos on the side of also really great people as well. So that is the number one person. If you go and research anyone for marketing, Russell Brunson is by far the best, without a shadow of a doubt. As far as any final words, this is a good question. Yeah, I got one final phrase. I got two final phrases. They're short, but they're really, really good. Okay. So number one, I don't care who you are, where you are, what you've been through, what you're currently going through, or what you are going to go through. Basically saying there is no scenario that anyone at all can bring up to me that they can dissuade me from believing this statement. At any given time, at any circumstance, you are literally just one idea away from solving the biggest problem of your life. No matter what problem you can think of, there is no problem out there that when ideas are constantly thrown at it, it can be solved. There's no problem out there. Literally, the only idea or the only concept I can really think of is dying. Right? If you die, you can't do that.
Being diagnosed maybe with like a terminal illness or something.
Exactly. Like if it's there, I will admit that there are situations out there that currently cannot be fixed. However, they will not indefinitely be fixed. I truly believe that the diseases that we deem as uncurable now will be curable in the future. So I will deem that there are some things that are like that. But most of us don't have cancer. Most of us don't have tumors. So again, those are marginal examples. However, most of us believe they are extremely terminal things and there's nothing that we can do to solve them. And I call bullcrap because, dude, think about it. The monumental issues that existed 100 years ago, the plague, women giving birth and dying at an enormous rate, things of this nature. We don't worry about that kind of stuff anymore, except for COVID. That's kind of a new development. But eventually that will be solved.
It's plague of 2020.
Exactly, but eventually that will be solved.
I think these problems, if you throw enough human suffering at them like we did and have and are currently, they get solved.
Exactly, they're going to be solved. And the same is for you. If you feel like you can't promote your music, you feel like you can't produce to the style that you want to, you feel like you can't be authentic and a marketer at the same time, any problem that you bring up to me, I call bullcrap that is the final scene of your play. I call so much bullcrap. And with that, that is leading me to my second and final point to close this whole thing up. I want you to truly, genuinely think about this statement. You did not come this far to only come this far. Think about the potential that lives inside of you. Think about the potential of humanity, the people that have come before you. Think about all the energy, all of the work, all of the sacrifice of your ancestors and what you have already put in. To think that what you are experiencing right now, whether good or bad, is the pinnacle of what you can experience is asinine. It's against all logic and all evidence. You can't even imagine the depths of your potential and what you can achieve. You did not come this far only to come this far. Keep going. The future is bright. The future is beautiful. I feel like I'm selling a self-improvement book right now, but I'm absolutely serious, okay? This is something that I truly believe. And the more that I believe it, the more that I craft my life around this statement, the more success, the more barriers that I break through, the next level of Super Saiyan I achieve. You see what I'm saying? You agree with what I'm saying here, Bill?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. I think like this podcast is on my platform a really interesting thing for people to listen to, because I think the kind of people who listen to it are the kind of people you say who are just like sort of somewhat maybe against marketing or just have no idea, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's like this is a really good resource for people to listen to, because I've not really had anybody on the podcast that's like super good at marketing. I've had like managers on and I've had agents on, and I also think they're great people to interview too, because it's sort of like this exterior shit in the music industry that's kind of like the more unknown stuff, whereas how to make a fucking bass in Massive is like pretty easy to figure out at this point, or at least most people listening to this podcast know how to do it because they've watched all the tutorials. So I just want to thank you for sharing a bunch of this marketing information and sharing sort of information from this side of the industry that may not seem so obvious to people listening.
I appreciate that, man. I actually have a bonus final thing that I want to say, if that's okay. So,
of course.
So usually after we have the marketing discussion, usually they're like, holy crap, I wish there was some type of specific resource out there, not just marketing in general resource, but a specific resource that has to do with music marketing and really applicable. And currently right now, I don't know anything like that does exist. There might be something out there that exists. I don't know, but currently I don't know anything out there that does exist. However, I do want you to know that we are working on something right now. We are dumping an unreal amount of money into testing these tactics to make sure that it works in any situation with any any person to grow anything in any area, in any part of the world, in any part of music. We are trying this right now. When it's all said and done, we probably are going to spend around $100,000 to prove what we are working on, at which point it will be available, and all the knowledge that I've gained over the last 10 years of marketing will be inside of there. And if it doesn't completely change your life, I will literally bake you a pie every Sunday for the rest of my life. And so I just want to throw that out there. It's in the works. I have no idea when it's going to be available. I have no idea what it's going to look like, but I know it's coming. And I just want to say that one final thing. Okay.
Cool, man. Well, yeah, I look forward to it. Well, thanks again, man. I appreciate you coming on. And yeah, I look forward to meeting you in real life one day.
Sounds good, man. I really appreciate it.
All right. Cheers. Have a good one. Hey, thanks for listening to the Mr. Bill podcast. These episodes are edited and uploaded twice a week by Robert Fumo of 303podpro.com. You can also support the show, get early access to episodes, and hear bonus content by going to patreon.com/Mr. Bill's Tunes and becoming a patron. Please rate and review on iTunes unless you're going to be a little shit about it. And all the links to my various platforms are at MrBillsTunes.com. Thank you.